Today, I want to talk about brain motivators. Raising great kids is a privilege and a responsibility. Sometimes our children can't see their own greatness. Sometimes we can't. Other times we can see their greatness but struggle to step up because of our own challenges. We will be discussing the brain science, tools and techniques that help us raise great kids. Hi, I'm Cynthia Armstrong. I'm a general and special education teacher. I homeschooled my children for 5 years, and I talk about the things that I have studied, I've learned, I've implemented, and found those things that work. So today I want to talk about brain motivators. When I talk about brain motivators, I'm talking about the reward system the brain has. And our brain works off of a neurochemical reward system. So our brain is made up, has all these neurons in it, and the neurons fire. And when it makes connections, then that is kind of the thought process or that path that we've created in our brain. But there's a gap between the neurons, and so our brain floods with those neurochemicals that allow the electricity to go through it. Because even though, like, if you're out swimming in the pool or in the ocean or the lake and the lightning storm comes, you get out of the water because you don't want to be electrocuted. But it's not the water itself, it's all the things in the water that carry that electricity. And so if you were swimming in a pool of purified water, like just completely clean water that has no minerals or anything in it, then you wouldn't be able to be electrocuted unless it hit you directly. So our brain works off of that neurochemical system. And so when we look at our children and we look at our children's behaviors, it's a lot easier to separate our child from the behaviors when we understand it's just their brain trying to get a reward. All behaviors are just our brain trying to get a reward. So if our child is getting a reward for being very particular, things have to be exactly this way, then we want to be able to switch that. I mean, when we understand it's just the brain getting a reward, then we can begin to help our child to get a reward in a way that actually benefits them. So our brain doesn't care that we're happy. It doesn't. It just cares it gets that reward. And the psychologists often, when they go in there, they start labeling our children with the depression, with the anxiety, with the OCD, with these things. But these are just symptoms. These are the symptoms of our brain trying to get a reward in a way that it's used in the past. And you say, well, why did our brain do that? And again, we don't know all the specifics, but we know that we create these patterns based on our experiences from the time before. So if our child falls down, they get hurt or something like that, and we're all over there, oh, are you okay? Are you da 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 da? And it gets flooded with all these rewards because we're really going in there and saving our child and giving them all this verbal oh, you're okay, you're fine, and oh no, let's get a band-aid on it, and we kind of go overboard on that. Then our child might make that connection that, oh my goodness, if when I got hurt I made a big deal about it, I got all this attention, I got all these needs met, that released a ton of neurochemicals, then it goes, oh, okay. Well, if I did that when I fell down, what if when somebody does something, instead of just letting it be that person's, like if a child comes in and takes my toy, instead of being able to calmly take care of the situation, if I go, oh, they stole my toy, and I make such a big deal about it, then I'll get all this attention and I'll get a lot of flood of neurochemicals. And so, and our children do this from the time they're little. So last time I talked about when they're little, they can't think about thinking. So they don't go, oh, what's the best way to take care of this situation? They just go, when I wasn't able to take care of the situation on myself, this is how I got what I needed, which gives me all those neurochemicals. And so I'm going to continue that forward into my older childhood, into my adulthood, unless we learn another pattern, unless we find a different way to get rewarded. And sometimes that can happen naturally, right? If we just lose all of our friends because we make a big deal about everything all the way and no one wants to hang out with us, then maybe we can figure it out. Some of us figure it out, and other of us just go deeper, oh, I'll just do more of what I did before. And if I just keep doing more of it, one of these times it'll work out. Our brain may or may not find connections that help us to change those patterns. But when we understand that all behaviors are just to get that neurochemical reward, then we can go in and say, well, what's another way that I can help my child to feel that reward? And so sometimes, there's all the things out there. Like if we just ignore that behavior, then they'll stop doing that behavior. And that could or could not work depending on how our children pretend they perceive it. So if we ignore them, they could spiral with a lot of neurochemical rewards. Oh, my parents don't care. Oh, they don't love me. Oh, da 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 da. And they can spiral down and become depressed or become more anxious, because what they're doing isn't working like it used to. So they might again choose to try and go deeper and do more to get that reward. So that doesn't necessarily work, especially if we don't give them the means. Like if we ignore a particular behavior because we don't want it, then we might want to be looking for those behaviors that we want. And I feel like it can be a borderline when we don't want to become manipulative of our children. When we do things that are for our benefit, to me, that's when it becomes manipulative. We're not teaching anymore. We're manipulating because we want them to behave or do a certain thing for our benefit. And we might not even realize we're doing it. We're doing it because this is going to be the best life for my child. But we don't really know that. We just think that might be the best thing for our child. So, and I want to have my child have their best life because then I'll look good or I'll feel good about being a mom. And so it can be really tricky to take ourselves out of the equation and really just be doing it solely for the benefit of our child. And so I know it can get super interesting, and that's why it's so important to really look at ourselves and to use the things we want our child to, like being aware of those neurochemical reward systems, see how it is for yourself. When do I become grumpy? If I'm ever grumpy or irritated, if I'm ever depressed or, oh, my child, they've hurt me by doing this, then we are getting neurochemical rewards. And it also becomes a manipulation. So, really, truly, just kind of stop and in yourself, kind of notice things. So if you have a feeling you don't want, then you're going to take a look and say, well, what is going on? Because I'm getting a reward for it. So a lot of times we say, oh, we feel this way because of someone else. And that's not true. We feel this way because we've learned to get a reward off how we perceive that person. They hurt me, rather than, oh, they're just having a bad day. It's got nothing to do with me. Those release different chemicals, but are still a chemical reward. So it just is how our brain is used to getting that reward. And if that's how it works for us, what does that mean for our child, and how can we help them? So children are great by their very nature, and it is our privilege and our responsibility to raise them. Hi friends, Cynthia Armstrong here. Thanks for joining us today. Please make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you can see when new videos come out, and like this one. It is such a responsibility and a challenge to raise great kids, and we are here to help you along that journey to make it as enjoyable and fun and fulfilling as possible. Please check out our website, www.raisinggreatkids.net, and I will leave that in the description below.